Chapter 16, Urine Therapy on Animals. When certain people want to disparage a given treatment, they ascribe its efficacy to faith. For instance, some opponents of homeopathy have glibly dismissed it as a faith cure. Yet the homeopath has an argument to hand which soon squashes that assumption. He contends that homeopathy cures animals when in the nature of things they cannot know they are being treated. Cures of hundreds of animals are mentioned in homeopathic literature. One is that of a cat, which had paralysis of its hind legs. After various treatments had been tried, its owner gave it mag-phos in a colossally high attenuation, that is magnesium phosphate, in a colossally high attenuation, and cured it completely in a very short time. The skeptic will say, coincidence, in quotes, to which one can only retort, how astonishing is the credulity of the skeptic, under quotes. This allusion to homeopathy on animals is so far relevant in that one or two credulous skeptics, under quotes, have even said that urine therapy must be a faith cure, under quotes. I can but smile and employ the same argument as have the homeopaths. Let me substantiate my argument with a few facts. It so happens that my grandfather was rather well known in the 60s and 70s of last century for his way with horses, dogs, etc. And it was from him I learned that urine and even cow dung were his favorite remedies in successfully treating the ailments and injuries of animals. He thought nothing of fasting cows, horses, and dogs up to a month on water and cow's urine, to administer which he used a horn, though when thirsty they would drink without this adjunct. Having learned much from my grandfather, I treated animals myself. It was often a long and laborious job, and some adventures I could quote are not without their humorous side. I remember I once fasted a cow which had tetanus for 120 days, during which I rubbed it for 8 hours a day with the urine caught in buckets of other cows. To drink, I gave it its own urine. At first it was thick, yellow, and concentrated as mustard, and the urine of healthy cows. It also drank plain cold water. My vaccine patient lost all his hair, went to skin and bone, but made a complete recovery, regaining its natural weight on grass feeding in about 2 months. I have also treated dogs by the urine therapy fast. One method of inducing a dog to drink urine, though they will not often drink a bitch's urine, is to fasten the animal to a tree and then syringe its head with a fine spray of the vital fluid. I used my own newly passed for this purpose. As the urine drips down over its face, the dog will lap it up. Case history: Airedale Terrier Rough, under quotes, treated him for a swelling in his abdomen which developed after he had been run over by the back wheel of a motor car. He fasted 19 days on my urine and cold water when desired, and finally broke his fast on a little raw beef. When animals are ill, they have the sense to fast until hunger reasserts itself. During this fast, I washed him all over with old, strong, greasy urine, and although he lost many of his old hairs during the process, he finished up with a beautiful coat. Although the following experience with poultry does not strictly come under the heading of urine therapy, since hens do not urinate and no urine was used, it is instructive nonetheless as showing what a fast will do even for birds. I had 60 hens at the time, October 1916, but not one of them had laid an egg for weeks, although they had been well fed and stimulated with condiments. As some of them were ill, many authorities, under quotes, had given me free or professional advice. Finally, I decided to put half of them on a fast with nothing but plain water. The result was remarkable, for on the 4th day I found several eggs. Subsequently, I fasted the remaining half with the same gratifying result, eggs in plenty. The fast in each case lasted a week. I then changed what had been the previous diet consisting of anything and everything, under quotes, to nothing but whole grain wheat, for which the hens had to work in ashes for every morsel, and raw greens, which I gave them twice a day. This plus the grass they could pick from my orchards was all they got. The result was an average of 250 eggs a week from 60 hens for 18 weeks without a break, and at the negligible cost of $0.25 per egg. Treatment of a foal's leg for laceration. The foal in question had tried to force her way through a thick thorn hedge with disastrous results. She suffered a large slash in the flesh of one of her back legs at the knee joint, and the gash resembled a great leaf hanging down. I was advised to call in a vet and have it stitched up, but I declined, knowing that such a measure would only leave unsightly marks and would reduce her value. I therefore bound up the wound with a soft, clean woolen cloth. undyed under a piece of 3-ply flexible wood and filled up the space between the flesh and the wood with cow dung, finally drawing the poultice tight at the bottom with broad tape so as to keep the dung in place and let the foal have a run. Twice a day, I called the animals so that I might pour a pint or more of urine into the top of the poultice in order to keep the properties of the dung active. This process I kept up for a fortnight. Then at length I undid the bandages, and lo and behold, the wound was perfectly healed and without leaving a trace of a scar. Truly, there are lessons to be learned from nature. The first, second, and third are work with nature, and she will do the work.